Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's Lunchtime Live. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Sarah Kerrigan. I'm one of the co-founders at the Online Digital Academy, along with Michelle Carville. So every week we go live, normally on a Thursday at 12:30 p.m, as we are today. And this week we are talking about 10 mistakes that you're probably making with your Facebook advertising. So I'm a paid social specialist, so generally that's what I concentrate on nowadays. I run a training on LinkedIn advertising and Facebook advertising. I also manage paid social accounts myself day to day as well. So dealing with paid social strategy all the way down to campaign execution. Hi, Michelle. So over the last few years, when I've been running lots of training on Facebook advertising, it's insane to see time and time again the same mistakes that have been made and are coming up. And it's pretty much, I'd say, almost guaranteed that if you haven't had any formal training on Facebook advertising or even LinkedIn advertising, you're guaranteed your account will be set up wrong, 100%. Structure of your campaigns probably not going to be right. The audiences are going to be the wrong size. So I've picked out 10 of the most common mistakes that I see time and time again when it comes to Facebook advertising we're talking about today. And that's what we're going to be looking at. So if you are watching today, give me a hello and say hi in the comments, just so I can see your name pop up. And I can see we've got some people tuned in, which is fabulous. So say hi, give me a wave. And if you've got any questions at all throughout this next session, it's going to be about half an hour, then please do comment and let me know any questions on Facebook advertising, and I'll try and cover them. If I don't cover them all, then I'll cover them afterwards in the comments. So, hi Tally. So 10 mistakes you're probably making. Hi Anne-Marie, with your Facebook advertising. So those of you who are already running Facebook ads, you'll know that Facebook advertising, Facebook Business Manager, Facebook Ads Manager has changed so much in the past 5, even like 10 years from when Facebook ads first came out. It's a totally different ball game now, and it can be really, really confusing. But there are some key mistakes that you probably making, which can make all the difference to your campaigns and all the difference to the results that you're getting as well. So we're going to get started with number 1. So quite often, or very often, I see, especially people who come on my Facebook advertising training courses, they have an idea that maybe they're doing Facebook advertising already, but actually all they're doing is boosting posts. And then they realize there's like a whole new world out there. There's like Facebook Ads Manager and the Audience Center and the Pixel, and it's just a whole different ball game. So you may think that you are running Facebook advertising campaigns, but what you actually might just be doing is just boosting posts that are sitting on your Facebook page. Now, although theoretically that is turning that post into a paid for advert, it's not the most effective way that you can be running paid campaigns if you want to drive results such as direct response results mainly, or even brand awareness results. So moving that needle, moving that dial on driving sales from your website, driving a serious amount of traffic to your website, driving brochure downloads, content downloads. If you want to be driving any of those direct response actions, if you want to be reaching out to multiple audiences, then you need to be creating campaigns within Facebook Ads Manager to do that. Why? Because you want to be testing multiple ad variations, multiple audience variations, so you can be constantly getting learnings to optimize your campaign. Ultimately, if you're boosting a post, all you're doing is you're putting all your eggs in one basket. You've got one ad, which first of all probably isn't designed well to be an ad because you've posted it on your Facebook page, so the content's probably not right for an ad anyway. and now you're putting money behind that ad and you're only boosting it to one audience. So you're not doing any testing audience-wise, and you're not doing any testing ad-wise either. On top of that, Facebook actually limit the options that you have when you're boosting a post as well. So you don't even have all of the objectives available to you that you want to be making use of that you can within Facebook Ads Manager. So you might be thinking, okay, so when do I boost a post? Hey, Layla, boosting a post and boosting posts is fine, but it should really sit within your organic strategy rather than your paid strategy. So if you want to get some more likes and comments and shares and increase social proof around your organic posts, then boosting your posts can be a good way to do that. You know, you put a little bit of budget behind each post or posts that have done well organically, and you boost those to your page followers or people in your local area. But it's very much should just be around that, you know, getting some more social proof and engagement around your organic content. If you want to be driving results on your website, then you need to have a strategy for that, a proper strategy with multiple audiences and multiple ads. So you're testing and learning and getting the best cost per result for your objective. So avoid boosting posts unless you just want to drive some more social engagement around your on-page posts. And Facebook, of course, make boosting posts really, really easy because Facebook want you to give them money, you know. So it's great from Facebook because they're always giving you little notifications going, oh, this post performed well. Do you want to boost it? That's Facebook making it advertising available for every man and his dog. You know, they've got no idea what they're doing. They go, okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll put £10 budget behind that. What do you get from it? Probably nothing much, certainly not any sales anyway. So just be cautious about boosting posts. When we're talking about Facebook advertising, if you want to be driving sales and results on your website, then that isn't within a boosting post strategy at all. So you need to be in Ads Manager, planning out, you know, more complex and structured campaigns to get the best results on your website that way. Okay, so number 2, sending people to your website with no pixel. So this is a big one that I see a lot of. I guess it's like the first objective, or quite often people will run a traffic campaign and then it'll be optimized for link clicks because that's what a lot of people associate with. They want to drive traffic to their website. That's quite a common objective where you think that's what you want as a business owner. But if you're doing a link click campaign or a traffic campaign and you're driving people to your website where there's no pixel on the website, I would say it's like literally just a waste of time and money. So a pixel, for anybody who doesn't know, is a piece of code that Facebook give you. You get it from Ads Manager and you put that on your website. That will then attach your website to Facebook Ads Manager. Now, without a pixel on your website, you are saying to Facebook, yep, drive people to my website, but Facebook are kind of driving with, you know, their eyes closed here. They have got no data, no learnings to optimize their ad delivery on. So they're pushing your ad out there, but you're not making use, excuse me, of Facebook's intelligence and how clever Facebook can now be by learning through data. So people are being driven to your website, but there's no optimization going on. So Facebook aren't tracking what people are doing once they get on your website. And if the pixels on your website, they can feed that back into your campaign. So I would just be very, very wary and cautious. If you're driving traffic to a website, if you're optimizing your campaigns for link clicks, then that's a really expensive and inefficient way of running Facebook advertising. You're potentially throwing a lot of money down the drain if you're doing that. So I would never ever run any kind of campaign that's driving traffic to a website without the Facebook pixel on your site. So a big takeaway there. Don't even bother if you haven't got that pixel set up on your website. Okay, so number 3, the pixel is on your site, but your event tracking is not set up. So this is another really, really common one. You've heard of the pixel before. A lot of people have heard of the pixel before. They're, oh yeah, that's all set up. I'm sorted. I'm okay. But then they don't realize that there's actually 2 parts to the pixel. And that if you want to be running conversion campaigns, which are campaigns that drive sales on your website, leads, brochure downloads, content downloads, webinar signups, if you want to be driving those all important actions from your Facebook advertising campaigns, which typically, to be honest, most business owners do, they want to be driving business results with their Facebook ads, then you can't do that unless you've got your event tracking set up. So there's 2 parts to the pixel. There's the first part, which goes on every page of the website. That's your base code. That's important that that's there. But then the second part, just as important, and this is the part that quite often people don't have set up, or if they do, it was set up ages ago and it hasn't been updated. So a lot of their important website actions aren't being tracked. So the event tracking means you are actually tracking button clicks on your website. You're tracking when people download content. You're tracking those actions on the website that are happening. You're tracking when somebody adds something to the basket. And then finally, when somebody checks out. And that event tracking will send that purchase information back through to your Facebook ad campaigns. So ultimately, you'll be able to run campaigns that are optimized for people who purchase stuff. And you'll be able to see, well, I've spent £100 on this campaign and it has led to 10 sales worth £500 worth of revenue. So you've literally got a full ROI there from your Facebook advertising activity. So you can see it's almost madness, driving traffic to your website without having that pixel and event tracking set up, because you have no idea then how your Facebook ads have performed, which is insane when you have the ability to do that. And you can see why you're potentially just chucking money down the drain if you don't have that tracking set up and you can't see that direct ROI. But also on top of that, you're not giving Facebook the tools that it needs to find the right people. Facebook is just blindly throwing your ad out there, not really caring on who's seeing it or who it's being delivered to. Whereas if the pixel set up, if the event tracking set up, Facebook goes, oh, okay, so in the last 24 hours, these 10 people have converted on your website. Great. We can take that learning, or we can find other people who look like these people. And Facebook are just constantly learning in real time and feeding that back. So that was number 3. So maybe you've got the pixel on your website, but your event tracking is not set up. So you need to make sure that that's set up. You find all that within Ads Manager, within Business Manager, and event setup. Facebook have now got a really cool tool as well, which allow you to set up those events yourself. Number 4, and this is probably the most single biggest mistake that can have, I'm saying that about all of them because they're all really common mistakes, but this one's also really common, and it can have such a big impact on the results of your campaign. And this one's interesting because maybe you've got the pixel set up, maybe you've got your event tracking set up and you're all sorted. You might have even been running Facebook advertising campaigns for a while. But this is still a mistake that lots and lots of advertisers make, even if they're quite experienced, is selecting the wrong objective when setting up a campaign. So this is like the first thing Facebook ask for when you create a campaign. Yep, so when we're talking about Facebook advertising, everything we're saying here is also true for Instagram advertising too. Correct. So you run your Instagram ads through Facebook Ads Manager. Instagram is just a placement, in fact, of Facebook ads. So all of this is relevant for your Instagram advertising, and your Instagram advertising is Facebook advertising. Facebook owns Instagram. Or you set up a Facebook ad campaign, your ads will appear on Instagram by default, as well as Facebook Messenger as well. So the first thing Facebook asks you when setting up a campaign, even when you're boosting a post, this is the first thing Facebook asks you. So this is also why boosting a post I guess so many people go wrong when boosting a post too, because this has a massive impact on that. Is what do you want to achieve from this campaign? Now, what objective you select will directly impact the results you get. And what I mean by that is that you could run 2 different campaigns side by side. Now you're targeting exactly the same audience with exactly the same ad for the exact same budget. So the campaigns are exactly the same, but one of them might be optimized for reach, and one of them might be optimized for conversions, for example. Now, even though everything else about the campaign is exactly the same, you're targeting, all females within 20 kilometers of your business with exactly the same ad creative that you designed, a video about your business. But if you select reach on this campaign versus conversions on this campaign, you're going to get totally different results. So that objective really impacts the results that you're going to get. If you select reach, you'll get diddly squid, to be honest. All Facebook will do is they'll show your ads to as many people as possible, but don't expect any immediate business results from that. Don't expect any sales on your website, any subscribers, downloads, even potentially not much traffic either. If you're selecting conversions, then you're going to drive sales, or you're much more likely going to drive sales, because Facebook, you've told Facebook, I care about sales. Facebook will do its best to go and find you the people within that audience, within everybody within 20-kilometer radius of your business, and they'll try and find people who are likely to convert and buy. So that's again the difference of selecting something like reach, going Facebook, don't use any intelligence you've got, just put my ad out there. It's a bit like print, it's a bit like putting your advert in the local newspaper. It's just going to go out there. It's not optimized to be sent to people who have commercial intent or who are most likely to buy. Versus selecting something like conversions, Facebook will use their machine learning intelligence, which is so powerful. And if you're not making use of that intelligence, then your Facebook ads are just not going to get you the results that you want. So you really want to be making use of that intelligence. So being really clear on your objective. If it's sales you want on your website, then select the conversions objective. Of course, you need the pixel and the event tracking set up to do that. If it's sales you want, don't select the traffic objective, because that's just going to drive traffic to your site but get you less sales. Don't select the video views objective. That's not going to get you any sales either. If you want more video views because you've got a video about your business, great, but don't expect that's going to drive any type of interaction on your website. So basically, the objective does what it says on the tin, literally. If you select video views, you will get video views. You're not going to get sales. So just keeping that in mind. Obviously, there's strategies that come into play. There's context that's always needed. You might have multiple campaigns running at the same time. You've got a traffic campaign, you've got a video views campaign, and you've got a conversion campaign all running at the same time to fill that funnel. And that's a strategy that you are running. And that's fine. But if you're just, starting out and you're running one campaign at a time, then pay attention to what objective that you select. And reach and brand awareness, as I say, they are, just don't expect any direct response from those. So don't expect any traffic or sales. So that's selecting the wrong objective when setting up a campaign has a massive impact. And it's great to test the campaign yourself. Run a reach campaign and run a conversion campaign with exactly the same audience and exactly the same ads, and see for yourself the difference it makes. You could just put, a small budget behind each, and then you actually see the learnings from that data. Number 5, so using carousel and collection ads, but not single image or video ads. So this was one that actually came up the other day in my training course, and one of the ladies who says, we're making things really hard for ourselves and spend all this time designing like these collection and carousel ads, thinking that we want to be doing, something that's really engaging. which is great, but then they're not even running single image or video ads. And actually now the way Facebook's set up is that if you're not running a single image or video ad, you're not actually making use of all the placements available to Facebook. So Facebook now run their ads across 4 platforms, and then have over 16 different placements across all of those platforms where your ad might appear. Instagram stories, Instagram newsfeed, Facebook stories, Facebook Messenger, Facebook audience network. And again, making use now of Facebook's learning and machine learning algorithm, then ideally you want to give Facebook the opportunity to show your ads in as many places as possible. So if they've identified somebody who's got high commercial intent for what you sell, and they come online and they pop on in Facebook Messenger, maybe they haven't opened up Facebook app and Instagram for a while, and suddenly they pop on in Facebook Messenger, Facebook wanted to be able to have an option to deliver an ad to them. So the more placements where your ad can appear gives Facebook more opportunity to show your ad to those more really important, valuable people as they pop online across all these different placements. Now, carousel, for example, is an ad type, the one where you swipe across. That's only limited to a certain number of placements. In the newsfeed, it works in Instagram newsfeed and Facebook newsfeed. It's not optimized for the majority of placements. Same with collection ads. It's only optimized for certain placements in the newsfeed, and it's actually only mobile as well. So don't overcomplicate things. Yes, those carousel and collection are great as a third ad choice, but make sure that you've got your basics in order, and you're always running a single image ad and a video ad, because then your ad will appear across all placements, and Facebook has the option to show that ad the majority of times. So don't overcomplicate it by thinking you have to be creating and making use of all these really advanced ad types, when actually single image is still one of the most top performing ad types out there, because it is optimized for most placements. Carousels used to be great, but since Facebook improved, stepped up with machine learning, stepped up with the placements, it's kind of gone back now to single image and video as being the top ad types generally. Okay, number 6, your audience size is too big. So when you're creating your ad sets, which is basically your audiences within your campaign, so you can have an ad campaign and you can choose to create a number of different ad sets where you can have a number of different audiences in each ad set. So that might be, all vegans in the UK, everybody interested in veganism in the UK might be one audience. Another audience might be everyone interested in vegan recipes in the UK. Another one might be everyone interested in the Body Shop in the UK. So you've got 3 different ad sets there, 3 different audiences, all relevant to your kind of broad vegan persona that you're trying to target. And it's great because then you can start testing which of those interests is going to work best for your business. Now, there's definitely lots of best practice around setting up ad sets and setting up audiences and the audience size. So quite a common mistake is that people will just not even be aware of audience size, and they'll be targeting, 20, 30 million people within one ad set. Now, that means you're probably going to get a very low engagement rate. The exception to that is that if you've been running campaigns for a while, you've got a product that works really well already, and you've done lots of audience testing in the past, and you've kind of already got your winning formula nailed, and you're in the scale mode, and you know that this has worked and you want to go really big, then you might go a lot broader. But other than that, when you're starting out, and just generally the majority of the time, your ad sets can be a lot smaller. So we're talking like no more really than 5 million per ad set when you're setting up audiences. So multiple audiences around the 1 to 5 million mark is ideal. And that brings us on to the next one as well, is that your audience is too small. So you don't want to be targeting like a couple of thousand people within an audience. your Facebook campaign just isn't going to get started and it's not going to get going. There's not enough data there for Facebook to be finding people who are logging onto Facebook all the time. Remember, not everybody goes on Facebook every minute of every day. We just presume that they do when you're setting up ads. When you actually think about it, so when you're targeting just like 1,000 people or less, then Facebook's really going to be struggling to deliver your ads every day, but then struggling for you to get results every day, which means that you won't win the auction every day, which means then your ad score will be lowered, and slowly your ads will just stop reaching people, and your ad prices will go up, your engagement rate and click-through rate will come down. So when it comes to audience size, try and hit that 1 million mark. The exception is if you're a local business, you don't always have the option, right? So for a local business, just try and go as big as you can, even if you think sometimes it's not wholly relevant, because maybe you're, for example, you're a local business that sells fruit and veg, right, within your local area. Now, fruit and veg is relevant for everybody, so you don't want to layer on too many granular options. Like, well, actually, most of our customers are female, and actually most of them are like 50 plus. So we're only going to target females over 50. And you've actually then only got a couple of thousand people within your audience. You're actually much better on just leaving all the targeting options open, targeting everybody within the area, within like 20 kilometers of your business, and not layering on any targeting options, and having a much bigger audience. Because remember, Facebook's intelligent. Facebook uses machine learning and its algorithm, and as people start to click on your ad, they will find other people, and Facebook works better if they have a bigger group of people to deal with. So you don't go too small either. And also, just another point on that is, quite often when you're doing remarketing, it can be really easy to over segment. So for those of you who are familiar with Facebook custom audiences, you might be setting up website remarketing campaigns, and maybe you've only just put the pixel on your website and there's not much traffic coming to your website, and you're dealing with like 100 people in your website custom audience. Again, wouldn't bother running a campaign for that. So remarketing wise, you want to have at very least 500 people, ideally, in a remarketing audience. So don't over segment, targeting people who've just been on one landing page on your website. If there's a very, very small amount of people who've been on that landing page, you might just have to bulk all the website visitors together, potentially even add in your social media engagers remarketing as well to make that bigger, just depending on what size business you are. So it can be really exciting when you go into the audience center and you see all these audience options, and you're like, oh, amazing, I'll create an audience of people who visited my homepage. Then I'll create an audience of people who've added something to cart. And then I'll create an audience of people who've converted. And then I'll have people who've watched this video. And you create all these segmented audiences, which you think you can do a tailored campaign to each one. But if those audiences are too small, then yeah, it's a bit of a waste of time, when your campaigns aren't going to perform. So then it's just better lumping them all together and waiting until they grow in size. Okay, fabulous. Number 8, how are we doing? Yes, a few more one time. Starting your campaigns with budget optimization switched on. Oh yeah, this is the big one. So I think Facebook still switched this on by default in the majority of cases, I believe. So this, when you start your campaigns, make sure that budget optimization is switched off, because this means that your campaigns and your audiences and your ad sets get stuck in the learning phase really easily. So if you've got budget optimization switched on, it means that your budget is at campaign level. And say if you've got 3 ad sets, if you remember our vegan example, it means it gives Facebook control over where to put your budget. But it almost does it way too soon before you can get those learnings. So maybe the veganism ad set starts performing well at first, because in the first couple of hours, it happens that more people are online in that ad set. And then Facebook will just start putting more of your budget to this audience and this ad set, and it won't give the other audiences really the opportunity to perform. It's funny because in a way, sometimes Facebook is so intelligent and so clever, but in other ways, not so. So if you turn campaign budget optimization off, it means you can have a set budget for each audience. So you go, okay, well, I'm going to put £10 per day for veganism, £10 per day for vegan recipes, and £10 per day for the body shop. And then you're going to run those 3 audiences with £10 budget every day until they come out of the learning phase, or at least, for 3 to 4 days. So you're giving each audience a chance. And only then, maybe you want to go back and switch budget optimization on, or maybe you just want to leave those 3 audiences running. You might turn the worst performing one off and leave the other 2 top performing ones on. Generally speaking, budget optimization only works well, or you should only really be using that if you're spending a lot of money on Facebook and you're in the scale mode. If you're spending hundreds of thousands of pounds a day on campaigns and you've got, again, a tried and tested campaign that's working, and you want to scale it quickly, that's when you should be using budget optimization. If you're not spending, hundreds of pounds a day, then on each campaign or each audience, then I wouldn't even bother using budget optimization at all, to be honest. It's better not to use it. Number 9, only showing your ads on 1 or 2 placements. So we've spoken about this a little bit within number 5 point, but it's just that the placements are so important. And this is a change in best practice, because back in the day, it used to be, only run your ads in Facebook newsfeed and Instagram newsfeed, because that's where you get the best results. Now that's totally changed, and it's best to design your ads so they run across all placements and can be used across all placements. And that's why suddenly single image and video ads are now great performers again, because they work across all placements. And other little things like making sure you've got square photo just means that your ad will naturally work across all placements really easily. So don't be tempted to just tick Instagram story, just tick Instagram newsfeed, and just tick Facebook newsfeed because you're most familiar with those. Let your ads run across all placements. Sometimes people find it scary to let their ads run across all placements because they don't know what the placements are. And it's just this idea that their ad could be out there looking strange and unoptimized for a placement. But Facebook show you previews of every single placement. So you just go through, you can preview your ad on each placement, which you can also do in Creative Hub as well, actually. So you don't need to worry about that. So yeah, select all placements by default. And then finally, number 10, editing your campaigns too often. This is a big one. Don't fiddle with your campaigns. Basically, this is when campaigns go live to begin with, is the first point to make. So when you put a campaign live, don't edit it straight away, or leave it for a couple of hours and you're like, oh no results have come in yet, and then you've edited it and you're editing the audience, and then you go back again a couple of hours later and you're like, oh, you changed something else, you changed the ad type. Absolute nightmare. You're not giving Facebook any time to get the data in, to get the learnings in. So first of all, when your campaign goes live, try and leave it for at least 2 to 3 days. And then after that, making sure you're not making edits for the sake of it, especially if it's still in the learning phase, because when you make an edit, it restarts the whole learning phase again. I find this challenging sometimes, I have to be honest, with clients when they want to make edits continuously to add copy for no real reason, or to change and tweak a campaign. And it's hard to explain that editing your campaign too often, changing your campaign too often is detrimental to the performance of that campaign, because it could almost come across as in you just don't want to take the time, right, to make the changes. But that's not the case. It's let the campaign run for as long as possible, get it out the learning phase. And that's when it actually starts performing really, really well. And if you're editing it all the time, it's never going to get out that learning phase and get in the kind of unicorn mode. So don't be editing your campaign unless you've got a really good reason to. And then once every 24 hours, after your initial period of letting it run, for 3 to 4 days is maximum really that you want to be making edits, and definitely not for the sake of it, only if you have to, or if you are making key optimizations. Okay, great. We have done it. So that's the 10 points. I've just seen some questions come in, so let me just look at them. If you have any questions, ask them now. This is your chance. And if not, hopefully that was useful for everybody. It's likely you will get reach with a conversion campaign anyway, right? Well, it's not likely, it's guaranteed, which I guess this is what yeah, obviously when you run a conversion campaign, you are going to reach people. When you run a conversion campaign, you're still reaching, say, 3,000 people a day with your brand message. Your ad is still out there and your ad still exists. You're still getting eyeballs on that ad. You're still getting engagement and comments on that ad. Your brand is still out there in the Facebook newsfeed. It just means that Facebook is optimizing it to people who are more likely going to buy and take action. So yeah, it's not like that you're not going to get any brand awareness by doing conversion campaigns. Your ad is still being seen by lots of people. It's just being seen by the people who are more likely to convert. Yes, when your ads go live, they're in learning mode. That's the Facebook algorithm learning about your audience, content, budget and optimization, etc. Yes, it is. Now, for some businesses, you might feel like that you're always in learning mode and you can never get out of it. So that it's no like biggie. Obviously, if you're dealing with large ad spends, that's the only time really where you can get out of learning mode very quickly in like 1 or 2 days, because again, you're spending, multiple hundreds of thousands of pounds a day on a campaign. But for a lot of businesses, that just isn't where they're at and what they're doing. So some of these things are optimized more for businesses that have higher media spends. So learning mode is Facebook learning, and it can be difficult sometimes to get out of learning mode, especially if you're working on a month-by-month basis. That's also why I quite like using daily ad spend instead of monthly ad spend, because ultimately, if you're running a campaign, like a brochure download campaign, and a month has gone by, and if there's no reason to change that brochure download campaign, you're actually better off just letting it run for another month, because then that's when, if you're a smaller business, it's probably going to take you maybe like 2 months or 1 month and a bit to get out of that learning phase. Whereas if you're just dealing with like month-by-month campaigns where you want to design a brand new campaign at the start of every month, then quite often some businesses will just never get out of the learning phase if they are designing their campaigns in that way. So that's something else to think about as well. It's almost much better to have an evergreen campaign in a way, and run it until it stops performing. Don't run it just because you feel like sending out another message out there, or using a new picture. If that picture is bringing in, a click-through rate of like 4 or 5%, and it's got a really good conversion rate and everything's going fine, then you don't want to just change your campaign for the sake of it. Yes, exactly, David. Hi, David, if that's the David Miles who I think it is. Go broad, 100% is best practice now. Go broad, go big, keep the audience size larger and let the Facebook algorithm do its stuff in terms of figuring out what people are most likely to convert 100%. Okay, great. Oh, a couple more questions here. When I A/B test, the original ad also appears. Yep. So if you run an A/B test, Facebook will just start like a whole new test campaign for you, which I think is what you mean potentially. So you can just turn your original campaign off, and it'll just run a brand new campaign with your ad A and ad B. So that'll just perform as a brand new like ad set and campaign. So then you can stop the original one until you get your final results. Yes. And then A/B testing is good, but again, depending on your budget, that can last a long time as well. So you do need to be working with a good amount of budget to really make use of that A/B testing feature if you're actually using the A/B testing tool that Facebook give you. I'm having a nightmare of the clothing brand stuck in learning mode. It seems to be horrifically poor performing. Yes, I wouldn't get too hooked up on the learning mode because campaigns still can perform really well in learning, and a lot of campaigns do. So from that perspective, I wouldn't blame the learning mode. As I said, lots of companies will never get out of the learning mode unless you're dealing with large budgets. Not sure why it's performing horrifically though for you, Neil. Is it a brand new pixel? If there's not much conversion data on that pixel, I know I've been harping on about using the conversion objective, which I'd always recommend testing first, but this is where context comes in. If you are using that conversion objective and it is not working well, then maybe then take a step back and optimize for landing page views for a couple of days just to test and see what happens, to see if it makes a difference. And just aim for a high click-through rate at first, you know, so you're aiming for above 3% click-through rate. If it's got a high click-through rate and it's not converting, then it's probably more to do with the landing page. So the click-through rate will tell you whether it's getting people's attention in the newsfeed. If lots of people are clicking on it, then clearly the ad is doing something right. If people aren't converting, it's either the landing page experience or there's something on the landing page that is not what they expect. Maybe the price is too high and there's no price in the ad. So, you know, they're expecting something to be a lot cheaper than it is. So the offer maybe isn't quite right, or it's not aligned with the landing page. But look at the click-through rate first, because that's going to tell you whether it's an issue with the ad and the audience, or whether it's an issue with the website and the offer. Okay. Fabulous. Thanks, everybody. Have a fabulous day. The sun is out here in Wales, which is great. And we're out of lockdown now. So shouldn't have said that, should I? We're on different lockdowns for those of you who are in England, but we've done our stint. We've been in lockdown for however many months I can remember. Local lockdown, then national lockdown. So yeah, but have a great day. Stay safe, stay well, everyone, and see you next time. Bye.